2020 is a big year of change for a lot of people, and I have personally decided to document what I have gone through in the past 12 months, which for me has been a spiritual awakening. I am going to talk all about that, but before I do, I want to leave you with a little disclaimer, because what I've come to learn is that a lot of people are going to go have their own experiences from 2020. Some people have continued on just doing what they do every day, and not a lot has changed. But for others, it's been a pretty rough year, and maybe that is how it was for you too. So what I want to say first is that if you went through a spiritual awakening, which I did, I want you to know that I realize that each person is going to go through things completely differently, and what I share in this video may not be your experience. Okay, so the intention of sharing everything that I've gone through is that what I've realized is that as I have like aha moments, that is when I have the most clarity of thought surrounding whatever it is that I've just learned or that I've like fully experienced. And it's beneficial to myself to have that documented, but also to you or to future people that I intend to help by being able to get the most insight from that actual moment. And so that's what this video is all about. So first of all, I should tell you that this is not my first spiritual awakening. In fact, 20 years ago when I was 17 years old, I definitely had my first spiritual awakening. However, at that time when I was 17, I would not have described it in that way at all, because I definitely didn't connect it to anything spiritual. It was more just like a wake-up call in my life. And I may go deeper into that in a later video, but for now what I'll say is that when I was 17, about 20 years ago, I did have a little mini awakening, and it was pretty much caused just by honestly going through a bit of a rebellious stage. My father was a Baptist minister, and I was very much against religion and the church, and I was against my teachers, and I actually ended up dropping out of school, and I got into drugs and alcohol and partying, and I just did a lot of things that a lot of teenagers go through, and a lot of guys and girls that are 17 years old went through at that time. And eventually I basically ended up in a youth center, and I woke up one morning and I had that realization of, I am the reason why I am now in a youth center. And I basically went within and I took responsibility for my own life and the actions that caused me to end up where I was at. And I definitely had a mini awakening. I started exercising, I started eating better, I learned a bit about yoga and a little bit about meditation. But looking back, I definitely did not connect it to anything spiritual, or if I did, I just didn't think a whole lot about that. And I was just happy that I was feeling better and that my life was now moving in a more positive direction. And so that actually was great, and I actually did turn my life around for quite a long time, and things were really good, and eventually ended up becoming a personal trainer and getting into fitness. And as some of you may know watching this, I ended up opening a gym and pursuing that path. So that was a mini awakening where I kind of like snapped out of it and got my life back in order and started moving forward. Now, this video is really all about the 2020 awakening and what happened there. Okay, so when I did actually become a personal trainer and I was working in the fitness industry and a lot of things were actually going really well in my life, the reason I got into all that is because I wanted to help people. I had turned my life around, I was feeling really good, and it was around age 23, I think, that I actually got into that and started helping people. And it was a lot harder than I thought. I had taken a course and learned how to do the job, but I really had no idea what I was getting into. And the first few years were a major struggle. And it's amazing now looking back to see everything that I actually accomplished during that struggle. But still, what happened was I started looking up to other people who I felt were successful, And I started mirroring people, and I started seeing like, okay, well, if they're successful, then maybe I should be more like them. So I can see now, looking back, that I basically started adapting characteristics, behaviors, things that I saw other people doing that were having a bit of success. And there's ways to do that that are good, but for me, what happened was I actually started losing myself, and I started I started moving away from my purpose and my dharma is what I would call it now, and I started just becoming somebody that really I wasn't. And so if a certain type of client would come in and they needed a certain type of person in order to be successful, then I would try to morph myself into that person they needed. For example, you'll see on TV various trainers that are like rah 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 and yelling at their client, and the client's responding really well, and they're like, they needed that push. And so I would try to be that for the person who seemingly needed that. Or if they needed like a lot of care, then I would become a person who was like very, very caring and kind. But the problem was I wasn't really being myself because I kept trying to mirror other people. And what happened from that is actually I became successful and continued to grow my business because it works. And when you're being what people think they need, then they're happy because they're getting what they think they need. And so I used that in order to grow and continue to grow, and it worked for some time, but ultimately, didn't really do me much of a service because I really didn't, after a while, I really didn't know who I was anymore. And eventually, it actually, led me to having different beliefs and ultimately doing things in business that I wouldn't even normally do, and just really losing myself. So that was a big lesson that I can see now looking back to the last like 10 years in business. So essentially, basically, I just became a chameleon, and could mirror different people, and mirroring is actually a big technique that a lot of people do, and that's literally mirroring the behaviors that you're literally seeing or hearing, or voice tones, things like that. And a lot of people will do this in business, but there's a danger in that for sure, because you can just move away from really being yourself, and maybe some people can do that without losing themselves, but for me, I actually did end up starting to question, who am I? And so in 2020, when things were getting a little crazy, that was one of the questions I had. It was like, who am I really? And like, what am I doing? Like, I got into this career choice to help people. Am I really doing that? I'd have a lot of clients come in and talk to me about really like what they wanted, like maybe it was to like lose weight or lose body fat or whatever, and then I would be providing them with solutions, but really I knew deep down that there were some other deeper things that really needed to heal in order for that person to really be successful, and I just wasn't skilled in that area, so I didn't go there. It was outside of my scope. And so that's where I'm currently moving into now, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. So over time, I actually ended up slipping back into some of those old habits that I had when I was 17. I started drinking more. I started using pot to help numb myself from the feelings of stress and frustration, or and just being able to cope with all the stress from trying to make things work. And so I was just continuing to get further and further away from my emotions and pushing harder and harder and harder. And then when COVID came, it really, is a blessing in disguise for me, because it did actually force me to close my business. And then at that time, I really started going deeper within. I started doing more meditation, going for walks in nature. And that's really the time at which I started to have my awakening. I know that my purpose is to help others, and I've known that since the first moment when I had my awakening back when I was 17 years old. But back then, the biggest thing in my life that was really helping me was finding fitness. And so I thought, if I could just help people see what they are able of achieving within themselves through fitness, that I'll be able to help them on a deeper level. But what I found is actually that I ended up helping a lot of people more on a surface level without being able to help them on a deeper level. So over the past few months of COVID and being more alone and being able to spend time within and through meditation and walking in the woods and just really taking a minute to ask myself on a daily basis, who am I? Who am I really? And what am I trying to do here? Like, what is this life all about? And I've come to realize that I do want to help people, but I need to go deeper. So that's where I'm at right now. I've decided to pursue a career path as a spiritual life coach. And so I'm going into training, and I'm going to be going deep. I'm going to be learning a lot of lessons. And although it's very difficult for me, I want to be able to share those lessons. I want to be able to grow, to be better at communication through video, and definitely not only for myself, but because as I'm learning and as I'm growing, I have mentors and programs and things that are helping me out in that area. And as I learn and grow, and as new insights come to me, I want to be able to share them. And I've noticed that if I do that, as I'm learning, one, I'm going to learn it even better. And two, I'm going to be able to explain it and teach others and make more of an impact in life. So that's what this video is all about. I want it to be able to explain what I'm doing. And then each week I'm going to be coming out with a new video that's going to talk about various topics of wellness, various topics of spiritual health and inner growth. And I just wanted to be able to put those together so that you can learn them. And I guess another thing is just that, I've just had so many people in front of me that need help. And I've been in the fitness industry for over 10 years now, and I've seen so many people come in wanting to make big life changes. And I just want to be able to have the knowledge and wisdom and ability to be able to help those people. So this is the first video in my series. So please be kind to me, and I'm not going to pretend that I know everything. I definitely don't. I'm definitely surrendering my ego. I'm surrendering a lot of things. I've given up a lot of these bad habits. I've stopped smoking pot. I've stopped drinking. I'm going to bed on time, and I'm doing like a whole lot of other things just to support my health, because I care about my own health and I want to be able to support others. So I hope you like this video. I know it's a little bit deep, but I'm just being completely honest. And so leave me a comment if you like this video, and I will be sharing another one with you next week, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, and I'm sending you tons of love today.